Hey, everybody. Welcome to Getting on My Nerves with Angie and Sophie, my co-host.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode. And today we're joined by the lovely Carrie, where we talk about her book and parasites, all the interesting things in life.
So welcome, Carrie. Carrie Sicily is the author of Parasites Inside Me, and she has a phenomenal story to tell as well as educational information today. And just remember, with this podcast, we are doing this for educational purposes only. We are not giving medical advice. Welcome, Carrie.
Thank you. It's so good to see you again.
Good to see you too. We text, but we don't ever get to talk long.
Yeah. We're all so busy. Everything, it's like there's just not enough time no more.
No, there's not. Carrie messaged me a couple Saturday nights ago and was like, "Are you bored? Do you want to do a live?" And I'm like, "Girl, I'm in my pajamas." I could have, but I was just tired. I'd already been up since 6:30 that day. And I was like, "Girl, I'm ready for bed." She's like, "Let's do a live."
Well, what's funny is that I might be in my pajamas when I'm on there.
I thought you were going to be all done up and everything. And I'm like,
No, because there's times when something will press on my soul and I just have to say it. God's just like pushing on me and I'm like, no, no, no. And he's like, yes, yes, yes. And so then there's something I just have to say. And it doesn't matter what I look like, what I'm dressed in, or my location. I just have to say whatever presses on my soul.
I like that. If you would have told me that, I would have jumped up right then because I'm the same way. Like when your soul gets pressed, something's laid on your heart, God tells you to do it and you just are like, all right, I got to do it. I don't have a choice. So next time you just say, look, it's on my soul. And I'll be like, I'm there, girl.
Yeah. That's just how it rolls with me. Like there's not really a specific time that I'll go do something or post something. It's just whatever presses on my soul at that time. I have to just put it out there.
All right, girl, let's get into it. Let's talk parasites. Let's get people informed. Let's get the message out there. So you can find Carrie's book on Amazon.com. Also, you can go to parasitesinsideme.com. That is her official website. You can find all things Carrie on there, her book, her recent interviews, her documentary that she's done, which is available on Vimeo, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm promoting you right now, girl. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
So let's just talk about your story. Let's give a background about how you got sick, and we can lead that into how you actually get parasites and how they're in our ecosystem and why we get them. So let's start there.
Okay. So back in roughly 2014, I started showing little signs, weird moles appearing, secondary veins being blocked. And I started remedying all of these issues through allopathic care, and everything kept continuing to progress for the worst until I got diagnosed with uterine fibroids. And that was really a game changer for me psychologically and spiritually because the doctors couldn't tell me what causes fibroids. They said, we don't know. And the only remedy is a hysterectomy. And so I debated on this for about 7 months, but the cycling was increasing each month and it was getting to the point that I was hemorrhaging and I was losing too much blood. So I had to do this hysterectomy. After that hysterectomy, things started to really increase to the point that they, did a partial lobectomy of my thyroid, appendectomy, cholecystectomy, and things just kept progressing. They had diagnosed me with a brain lesion, and I couldn't get no answers why I was so rapidly deteriorating with my health. And I kept going to allopathic doctors, the emergency rooms. And after I had the appendectomy, something was wrong, seriously wrong. My stomach was distended. I had a constant, enormous amount of pain in my abdomen. I looked like I was pregnant, even though I had a hysterectomy. And keep in mind, I used to have a bikini body. I used to go to the gym 5 days a week, and now I'm looking like chopped liver. I had 43 CT scans in a 9-month period, and I was getting no answers as to what was going on with my abdomen. In December of 2018, I had a dream, and God turned me into a camera, and he took me through my body, and I was full of parasites. And never having known about parasites really, or learned about them, I thought that was a disturbing thought to morph into a dream. And I was very, very sick. My blood pressure was about 75/29. I kept telling the doctors, I'm going to die. Somebody's got to help me. And all they kept saying was, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong. So November 19th, 2019, I finally passed a PAL of Ascarius lumbricoides. And I did this on the 19th of November and the 21st of November. And it was then that I discovered
Tell people what those are. When you use your big words, most of us don't know what it is.
Oh, it's a roundworm.
Okay, roundworm.
It's a parasite. Yeah.
Carrie is so knowledgeable. She knows all of these big terms and stuff, but like I forget what it is.
You know, and isn't that amazing, right? Because when I discovered that I had parasites, I knew instantly this was my problem for all these medical issues. And so I went down that rabbit hole at the same time trying to get medical help, which, interestingly enough, was the most difficult thing in the world in this United States to get. Because it's almost like as soon as you say the word parasites to an allopathic doctor, you can literally see, and maybe it's just my brain that I can see these things, but it was like a bucket of anger just poured over their head. And the interesting thing is, you know, I saw over 200 doctors in 6 different states in about a year and a half time. And all of the responses were the same. Now, how could that be? You've got doctors in different states. How can their response all be identical? It doesn't happen here, maybe a third world developing country, but not here. And then their physical expressions, the anger. And so you have to realize at that point that there's something bigger going on. I was able to find the proper help because I literally emailed every parasitologist in the entire world. Thousands and thousands of emails I sent. And Dr. Robin Overstreet, who was a world-renowned parasitologist, he responded. He says, call me. And I called him. And we were on the phone for hours. And, you know, that relationship just grew because every week we were on the phone for hours. And when we moved to Florida, I kid you not, he would FaceTime me at midnight. I'd be in bed, but I always got out of bed to take his call because I knew he was alone. He was lonely. And he really, really saved my life in conjunction with these other doctors around the world.
That's amazing. I think, like, I know Sophie and I, we went through the Lyme disease. We've all made friends like that with amazing doctors that have helped us along, just giving their time. And I feel they're heaven sent because there's no other explanation for it. You just needed one person to answer your emails. But this gets into where we all become our own researchers. We all become our own doctors, our own advocates, because no one can help. Your story is very similar to mine. It's very similar to Sophie's. The same thing. If you said you tested positive for Lyme disease, that's not possible. That doesn't happen here. Really? Because the CDC says I'm positive. For me, that was, you know, so it's like they still had the block. So Sophie?
Yeah, well, when I found out I had Lyme, they basically tried to section me because they said that my results were false, even though they come from Armin labs. And that I was just depressed because I had to give up my swimming career. And it was all in my head. You know, as an 18-year-old girl, just trying to cause drama, basically, and get attention. And it just really annoyed me because you go to the people that you think are going to get you right. And when they sort of go against you and you feel like you're fighting them all the time. And I think what made it worse was my family also believed the doctors. So they were coming home and saying, Sophie, you need to get your act together. It's obviously something that's going on with you. Like, what's going on? And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Something's not right in my body and I don't feel right. I'm an athlete. I'm used to bouncing back and now I'm not. And they're telling me it's all in my head. And it's the same for so many people that they just don't know what's going on because the doctors don't get to the root of the problem. They just go around it and try and give you an antibiotic or an antiviral that they can hand you a prescription for and not actually sit down and do the tests and actually get deeper and understand.
And isn't that sad? Isn't that sad that we trust these people that have the medical knowledge to help, and yet they'll refuse you? And Sophie, like you said, you know your own body. This is your vehicle and you've driven it your whole life and you know when something's not right with it. And when you go to these doctors and say, there is something seriously wrong, and they say, oh no, here's some antidepressants. It's all in your head. Oh, by the way, here's a referral to a shrink. No, it's not we that need the shrink. It's you, the guy in the white coat or the gal in the white coat, because you have such a lock and key on your brain that you won't even allow or consider that this could even be possible that somebody would have Lyme disease or parasites. It's just they blocked it completely out and they'll hear none of it. And so you have to question, are they really this closed-minded or are they directed and controlled?
Directed, I think.
I think so too. Because when you go back, if you remember the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, they really took the autonomy from doctors away and put it into the government hands. And what they did was they drew a red line in the sand and said, here you go, Mr. Doctor. Do not cross this red line, because if you do, the insurance company who works with us and for us, we're going to peer review you and then we're going to reprimand you. And if you continue this behavior, we're going to delicense you. And so then it comes back to that power of money where they are controlled by that money because they've got all these college expenses. They've got a lot of overhead expenses. And what happens if they get delicensed? Their whole life is going to be ruined. And it all comes back down to that red line in the sand that they will not cross.
Now, Carrie, you talked about this red line in the sand that actually goes back much further than that, beginning with Rockefeller.
Oh, yes. Well, what the Rockefellers did, now see, we didn't have government-controlled health care prior to. Really, the Clintons tried to get it implemented through the HMO PPO implementation. And they really thought that would push the government-controlled health care, and that didn't work out so well. So that's what the Obamacare was about. But if you go back to the Rockefeller time and their Flexner report and the submission of Congress to change the medical schooling, their standard of care. And that's what the Obamacare is about. It's a standard of care. And what that means is, regardless of any other protocols, only this one protocol is what we're going to allow you to use. So it doesn't matter what disease, they have one protocol they're allowed to use. And just like we saw the last 3 years, everybody knew ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine would benefit people, right? And now we've got the FDA who recently, the federal court system came out and said the FDA overstepped their bounds by not allowing these people to have these other medicines. And that goes back to the HHS, the Department of Defense, and the CDC, where they have these lines drawn. And if you step out of these bounds, we're going to make you pay. And you saw several hospitals in Texas get shut down for using ivermectin, and doctors delicensed for prescribing ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. And so then you have to say, well, why? Well, it's because our government is so in control of our health, our life. And if they can control our health, they can control the population, right? And Rockefeller, while he did a lot of bad things, and the Rockefeller Institute is still big in our government today, you know, a lot of people don't realize that our senators, they don't really write the bills. They just pass them. It's these lobbying firms like the Rockefeller Institute and BlackRock and everybody else that writes the bills and then hands it to Mr. Senator and says, oh, by the way, we'll give you a couple million donation for your next election, right? But we need this passed. Obamacare, they never even read it, right? And that's the thing, is like these senators don't even read these things and they're out here voting on them. And so it's the entire government that is defunct. And we are here paying for it. And we shouldn't be. You should never, ever be told by a doctor that it's in your head when that is your vehicle and you know when it's not right.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we saw it during COVID with like the vaccine. The government took it out of our hands, especially here in the UK. Like, you had to have the vaccine. There was no getting out of it. You had to have it. They tracked you on the app to make sure you'd had it. And it was all on the system. So they knew that everyone had had it. And now so many people have got like health problems from it because it was quickly passed through because they were trying to look like they were doing something to help when they weren't really. And now everyone's left with issues. But it's because it's what they want as a government to make them look good. It doesn't matter about us and our health. And it's so wrong.
It's wrong on every level, and it is just absolutely criminal. And the people who are having those medical issues, and even if they're not, they really need to detox to ensure that they lessen any likelihood of that. And those people need to be following Dr. McCullough. Dr. McCullough has been very outspoken about this through this whole duration. And he has come up with a protocol to take for vaccine injury. It is bromelain 500 milligrams, nattokinase 2,000 FUs, and curcumin 500 milligrams. And those people that have these injuries, and even if they don't, they should follow Dr. McCullough. He has his own website, and listen to what he's telling us and guiding us and teaching us, because we have a lot of great doctors that are actually in the know. They know what's going on. They've been outspoken. They've been censored a lot for the last 3 years, but they are getting the messages out. And it's just a matter of following the right people so that we can continue to self-educate ourselves. Because if we're going to look to the allopathic doctors to teach us, we got to make sure it's the right ones, not the ones that's willing to bow down, lay their life down, and follow what those red lines are dictating to them.
There's Dr. McCullough. There's also Dr. Brian Ardis and Dr. Judy Mikovich. I mean, you've actually done documentaries with them. You've done events with them. They're right in that group with them in that protocol that you were talking about from Dr. McCullough. I read about, actually, I saw it in a docuseries where Dr. Ardis and Dr. Mikovich was in it, along with this Dr. Edward Group III. They were talking about carbon 60, C60, because it's such a potent, it's like a many steps above charcoal, but it can get down at the cellular level and pull all of that stuff from the shot. I don't call it a vaccine because it's not really a vaccine. Right. Out of your system. Do you know much about the C60?
I don't. I haven't heard that.
No, I'll have to send you stuff on it. It's really interesting. I took notes from that time.
Yeah.
So it's a carbon C60, and Dr. Edward Group, he has it available on his website. We're not selling or promoting anything for educational purposes, but he has globalhealingcenter.com. And I have personally tried a lot of his supplements. I haven't tried the C60 because I don't need that deep of a cleaning, so to speak. But his supplements are far superior. I love his probiotic that he has. It is awesome. Out of all the years of all the probiotics and prebiotics and earth spores that I've tried, he's got all of it in a shelf-stable probiotic. This is a good point about probiotics, guys. When you see them, you go into the store and you see them in the refrigerator, and you take those out of the refrigerator and they tell you got to keep them in the refrigerator. Our body temps are 98.6 degrees. Now, it may fluctuate higher or lower for, per person, but if you have to keep a probiotic in the refrigerator, how's it going to survive in your body? So you've got to do your due diligence and research. I'm giving you a very good probiotic to try because it's the best I've found. No, it's not cheap, but you know what? Hey, your health is your wealth. And when you lose it, you'll do anything to get it back. You just have to you got to do your due diligence and research so you can find the best thing. You got to look at the ingredients, look at how it's grown, how it's processed, all that. Yes, it takes time. Do you want to get well?
Now, where do you get that probiotic?
It's on globalhealingcenter.com. I'll send it to you. I think it's called Ultimate Probiotic. I have it over there. I keep it next to my bed because I take it first thing in the morning when I get up.
Okay. Thank you for that. I'm going to research it.
You mean I know something that you don't? I feel smart.
I use the 1MD probiotics. They've done really good for me. But, I'm always looking to see if there's something better, because with technology and you got doctors that are working hard to develop newer products. Yeah, I'm always open to trying something new to kind of let my followers know too.
I think because our bodies change a lot over time, whether, we pick up new infections or we heal old ones. So we always have to keep mixing it up dependent on how our body is.
Yeah. So let me ask you, how are you doing with your Lyme? How did you recover and where are you at with that?
So luckily, I am all herbal, take all herbal stuff orally at home. If I get an infection, I'll have to go to, it's not classed as a Lyme disease centre. It's called infectious disease centre because the NHS don't like Lyme. So we've got to be careful with words. I have to go there for infusions. But again, it's all herbals like B12, vitamin C, liver detoxes, just to get the defense back into my body. But I'm not good with antibiotics. Antibiotics literally sent me west and I was quite poorly on them. They sent my liver levels way too high. So I've always kept to herbals. We have had an issue. Well, we've had quite a few issues here in the UK because Breakspear Medical Centre is the only centre in the UK that sort of treats Lyme disease patients. And the NHS have used up millions of pounds of taxpayers' money trying to sue Breakspear for treating Lyme patients. And it's well, where else are we supposed to get treatment? A lot of people go to Breakspear and they're on antibiotics for 4 months at a time and they have to do infusions and they're there all the time. Whereas I'm quite lucky because I can do it all from home. And I prefer being on herbals. I just think it's cleaner. I think it's better for your body. And I'd just rather do it that way. So I'm quite pleased that I am able to do that.
That's very good. I like herbals too. Return Healthy. So it's returnhealthy.com. They have, it's called a foundation kit that works to assist with parasites, and fibromyalgia. So it supports your body when you are seeing those two things. And I've done that protocol. I randomly will take the different herbals. They also have a tick kit, which I haven't done that one, but they have a mold kit, and I have done that one. And so in the morning, I just pick and choose now what I want to take, just so I can take something,
Yeah.
But I do love my herbals. I have, oh my gosh, so many things.
Oh, Carrie has a pharmacy.
Yeah, I feel like I've got a pharmacy.
We've all had. I've thrown out, I don't even know how many trash bags of stuff. Like my mom, she'll always dissolve them in vinegar and water. And then she's like, you can't throw those away. It goes into the ground, and I'm like, all right. So we literally had like weeks of doing this because I had so much stuff. That's the thing, is like, when we're telling you of what we personally use and what we try, it's to help you have the tools to go research for yourself, because we're all different. We all need something different, but there is a foundation to all of this. So Carrie, I went over and got my stuff so I can show you. This is the probiotic that I use. It is mine. I have my markings on the top. So I'm not promoting. Just when I find something that's really good, I like to share it. And it has 100 billion CFUs in 2 capsules. And a lot of times I'll just take 1 capsule. But if I want to change it up a little bit, I'll do 2 capsules for a few days, and then I'll go back to 1. So it's just like, to give your body your gut, that little boost. This is the GI detox that I have used this since 2017. And it is really, really good. It has zeolite charcoal, bentonite clay, aloe vera, apple pectin, silica. It's got everything you need in it to continually help your body detox. Again, not promoting anything here, just trying to give you guys some stuff to go research on, because that is, with every disease, every illness has a label. But Carrie, what does all that start with?
Not FDA approved.
I know, but I mean, it's a parasitic foundation. Oh, so that's what we want people to understand, is that everything that they have put a label on so that they can garner money to keep us sick, it all begins with a parasite. Parasites can be bacterial, viral, fungal, and actual worms. And there's a protocol with that. That's why, like, when I got diagnosed with Lyme disease after they'd misdiagnosed me for 16 years, they started treating me for parasites. Now, I did have an unidentified protozoan, which scared me because I didn't know what that was. I'm like, what kind of bug's in me,
Yeah.
Besides having the Lyme and 2 strains of Bart and the Babesia, all of that, mold and yeast. But there's a ladder to treatment, and you have to start with parasites first, because they go in and they destroy your nerves. They destroy the brain. They destroy the thyroid, the gut. They cause a leaky gut. I mean, it's just massive. So you treat the root cause, and we got to get people to understand that you're not dirty. It's nothing to be ashamed of to have parasites, because parasites are in our ecosystem. So they're supposed to be there. They are to take care of the metals, the toxins, the chemicals. And why do you think we have parasites? Because we are filled with those things. And that's what causes disease.
Yes. And until you realize that, until people wake up and realize that all these heavy metals that we're breathing in, it's in our water, it's in our food. We are constantly consuming all these poisons through our food and toxicities. And you got to get to that root cause. You can go to allopathic doctors all day long, and they can give you a prescription for every disease there is. But that is not going to fix the problem.
No.
But it's interesting because, in the Bible, there's a few things. It says, fear not 365 times. There's 365 days in a year, and that's not by accident that he says it 365 times. But he also talks about parasites, but he calls them worms. They don't call them parasites in the Bible. It's throughout the Bible. And as many times as I've read the Bible, somehow my brain glided right over those. You know what I mean? And one thing I'm going to say is, like, before I got sick, I did have demonic attacks. And it wasn't until after, and you go through all this, and I like to analyze everything where I just can't even turn my brain off. And I'm like, oh my God, that's the connection. Parasites or semen from the demon morphed into the physiology. Because when I go back to my journey and I'm like, it was when I submitted to God and said, this is your problem. You deal with it. You tell me what you want me to do. I'm going to do it. And it was then that Dr. Overstreet came into my life. Dr. Wael came into my life. Dr. Mantora, all these doctors from Iran, Iraq, Egypt, India, and Dr. Overstreet from the US. Everybody started coming into my life and they're like, okay, you've got this, you've got this, you've got this. And so when we look at all of the things that I went through and I psychoanalyze everything, it's like, oh my goodness. So I searched the Bible. Sure enough, it says, because you have left me, you think of me, you don't talk to me, your flesh shall be eaten with worms. And I'm like, oh my God, it's right here. How did I miss this all these years, But I think it's important that people have to get God first in their life, open up that Bible, read it, know that that is the book of life. He's going to guide you in this journey, whether you have parasites, you have Lyme disease, no matter what it is, he's going to bless you with that discernment to know what to do. But God also gave us the proper medicines, all of the things that he created, all these herbals, these things work and they're not hard on your body and they're going to give you a fighting chance to regain your health, to regain your life. And I think that, a lot of people, I talk to a lot of people, tens of thousands. And I spoke to a lady yesterday and we were talking about this. And she says, oh, absolutely. I believe this. I've experienced it. I've gone down that rabbit hole. Yes, this is all true. I believe it. And I've already, been born again. She is getting her life back. She's working toward wellness. And one of the other important things that I think that people need to stop doing is, we can't say, oh, I have Lyme disease or I'm dying from Lyme or I'm sick of Lyme. You know what I'm saying? We need to say, I'm getting well from, because our brain is the computer and our brain controls the body, and whatever we feed it, the body's going to react. And so when you tell your mind and your body, I'm getting well, it's actually helping your immune system to work to help you get well. And so we've got to change the words that we say, the way that we think, and really understand how powerful the words are that we speak.
You're right. And you can even take it one step further and just say, I am healed, because it's done. And when you believe it, when you think it, when you feel it, when you say it, you put that action into being. And it is really, really hard when you're bedridden. I know I was bedridden for several years, and you have to pull yourself up. It's a spirituality thing. We're not talking about religion and stuff here. We're talking about your own spiritual journey. We all have something that it's in our, if you want to get technical, it's in our contract before we come here. We decide what we're going to do because we're here to learn. This is school. So it's everybody's own spiritual journey with dealing with this. You have a disease, you have a health problem, you have finances, anything. If you focus too much on that problem, there's not a solution. When you turn it all over to a higher being, you want to call him God, you want to call the creator, Holy Spirit, whatever label you want to put on that energy is in control. That energy has created everything we need to heal on this planet. You have to think to yourself, did God make that? If God made it, then it's good. If he didn't make it, and we're not saying that pharmaceuticals and stuff are bad. We're saying that when you get sick, like we all three have been sick, they bombard you with Western medicine when natural is the way to heal and to stay well. You have to maintain that wellness, and it is just as hard to maintain your wellness as when you are on treatment. So you have to know that. You got to get that in your head that whatever you've done to get to a wellness state, you will have to continue doing. And if you slip up, just like I was telling Carrie and Sophie before, there was 2 things I left out of my protocol. Once I achieved wellness from Lyme in 2018, I got sloppy and I went back because I take very meticulous notes. I research just like Sophie and Carrie do. And I looked and it said, Angie, you will have to take this for the rest of your life at a maintenance dose. And I was like, son of a nutcracker. Like, I set myself up. So it's like the due diligence has to be there all the time. And what we are here to do is to tell you guys, if you have your health, you have to keep it. You know, my grandma always said, you lose your health, you lose everything. And
everything.
We all 3 know. We know.
Everything. I mean, isn't that crazy? I mean, I lost just about, if it wasn't for my husband, I would have been in a box, down the street. Really, because I spent every penny of my retirement trying to get well, and then all these surgeries, and then all their medicines and all their testing. It was too much. And it's mind blowing what we had to go through to get to this point.
Please join us for part 2 of our interview with Carrie in next week's Getting on My Nerves podcast.